Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law through this channel. I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. If anybody's not aware of this is a journey of an investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategic or compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each to an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at MMTLP and opinions with regard to the Statute of Limitations and what you could potentially do. We're also going to be looking at a key Webull deadline and also looking at tick symbol NNE, also covered in the previous video, and there has been a huge catalyst with breaking news, so stay tuned for that. So before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the markets. We can see here from Market Watch, the S&P 500 is blowing past Dow Jones by double digits, and two of the reasons for that are Nvidia and Meta outperformance. So in terms of Nvidia today, there was a significant dip, and we do have a stock dip alert channel, and we called the 5% decline in Nvidia today, and we previously called a decline in Nike. We went down for a short time to around about $89, and I believe it's now getting close to $100. And one other thing I'd like to share with you is the news with regard to Bitcoin. It is currently on a decline, and I think it has crossed below $60,000 mark earlier today, so one thing that we will also be watching. Let's now do a follow-up to one of the previous videos where we looked at Scott's letter with regard to the Statute of Limitations and securities fraud. So I'm going to give a shout out here to Marcos, who's obviously referenced Rosa Tawil's video, and we can see here that in that video Rosa did dive into the Statute of Limitations, and what Marcos has stated is first of all, we cannot be sure in terms of counting on a judge to grant that pause if we go beyond the 2-year mark. So it is a matter of opinion, so we're going to look at all sides of this now, and in terms of Rosa's video, what we can still see that overall it is still a contentious issue, and it could be down to the opinion of a judge or down to the opinion of a court, and also down to the opinion of attorneys as well. So in the video she states that different facts can bring different claims. Claims can overlap and claims can share facts. Your claims will likely overlap, so each claim is going to have its own statute of limitations depending on when you start it. The facts are also going to matter, because if your actions came against you during the course of action that allowed you to bring the claim that was either unapparent or there was a concealment, then that will also have an impact. And following on, we can see that the facts will also do something called tolling. So this is something that she's explained, and that is when your statute of limitation tolls, it means it was paused or delayed until the action became apparent or until various purposes for tolling have been met, such as the cause of action called adverse position. So basically, this is potentially something that she's suggesting that could be used to give you extra time, but again, I would say not guaranteed, because obviously it is contentious. So let's have a look at what I found from a search in AI with regard to securities fraud claims in the United States. So one of the things that I covered in the previous video, that first of all, according to the law, there are two key main time frame limits. So the first one is the Statute of Limitations, and that is 2 years from the time the investor discovers the fraud. And I think we all know that when that discovery of fraud is. Everybody who held MMTLP knows that date. So then there's also statutes of repose, and this is 5 years from the date the fraud actually occurred, regardless of when the investor discovered it. So that you could also say is another date. So we're gonna look at which date is more important shortly. So obviously this is now explained more further in Title 28, Section 1658B of the US Code. We're going to have a look at that shortly as well. And it states here, it's also important to note that courts have interpreted these provisions in detail. Specific details of your case can influence how they apply. So overall, I think the general consensus and opinion and suggestion is that you will need to potentially look at information advice from a securities attorney who is an expert in this field. So let's now have a look at that section 1658, Title 28, and we can see here it sets a time limit for filing lawsuits alleging fraud related to certain federal securities. So here's the breakdown. So the scope is obviously with regard to civil actions. that involves claims of fraud, deceit, market manipulation related to securities laws. And I think all of that applies to MMTLP. So 2 deadlines, we know these two. First one is a 2-year and the second one is the 5-year. So regardless of a discovery, it cannot be filed more than 5 years. So that's fairly clear. After 5 years, you're probably not going to get any case filed. So that's the other date, but let's have a look at which one applies. So in simpler terms, it says here there are 2 windows: the 2-year window for discovering the fraud, or the 5-year of the with regard to the fraud happening, whichever is earlier. So again, as Rosa said, it can be extended due to tolling, but again, I think what you will have to do is make your own judgment. So what I'm going to now do is share with you Scott's response to this, including the video, and we know that Scott's letter was very, very powerful, and this is Scott's response and his opinion with regard to taking a case. So he states, first of all, he's not waiting around to test the arguments. The Statute of Limitations issue can blow out your fraud claim, even if you have a very, very strong case with evidence, with potentially all the allegations proven, but it could be just thrown out on that technicality. So the treachery was on 8th and the 9th of December 2022, and he's treating this as a street fight in the US District Court. As Churchill said, action for this date. So basically he's saying he does not want to take the risk. So I have no problems with Scott doing that, and I think everybody out there, obviously you have to make your own decisions. So I would suggest let's take some advice from some qualified attorneys, and I think one of them is certainly Rosa. What I'd now like to do is share with you a new deadline from Webull, and they have written to all their clients, and they stated here they have opened another window to facilitate the transfer of NextBridge Hydrocarbons shares to AST. So they've outlined the terms below, and they've stated here that this must take place before July the 19th, 2024. So 2 key options. Option 1, transferring ships. So this will be for physical certificates, and we're looking at a fee of $235, and that is going to be deducted from your account, and I'm assuming that is for no matter how many shares that you have, even if it's 1 share. And the second option is for electronic delivery, and that is going to require a fee of $75, and that will be deducted directly also from your account. And I think the same fees also apply for IRAs, and what they've stated is if you wish to do this, you can reach out to them in the app and in the help center. So if you remember the S1 originally, what NextBridge Hydrocarbons stated is that there should be no fee for this, and what Will Stewart has responded by saying is he moved all his shares from TD to AST over 6 months ago. There was no fee, and he's talking about approximately 17.8 million shares, including at least 5 million in retirement accounts. So he believes the S1 in 2022 said there was no fee. Don't get played, because he never paid any fee. So I do certainly agree with him there, and I think what Webull are doing here is potentially profiting from a situation where they should not be. What I'd now like to do is do a follow-up to the previous video where we looked at tick symbol NNE, also known as Nano Nuclear Energy Incorporated. So this was a stock that was called in the previous week's weekly watch list, and it was up in excess of 120% of the previous 5 days, and it's also still going strong. So there was some breaking news, and we shared this in the Discord in our stock news channel. So let's have a look at that breaking news, and we can see here from the company's Twitter handle or X handle, we can see highlights of the first acquisition. So great news here. We're looking at an acquisition of Novel Annual Linear Induction Pump, previously funded energy phase 1 and phase 3. We're looking at $1.37 million, and the funds SBIR phase 3 with a goal of commercialization in a year. So great news here for nano nuclear technology. So let's have a look at what's happened in terms of the chart. So great news today. It's been up in excess of 32%, 32.68%, closing at $20.87, and at one point it was in excess of $22. So congratulations to everybody who got tick symbol NNE, which is a stock that we have been watching. If you would like to get a copy of breaking news live alerts in the Discord, as well as getting a copy of our weekly watch list, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.